Hey guys, welcome to our review of Mashin Sentai Kiramager, episode 40. As always, I'm your host, Frozen Stratos. Here with me today we have...
Cinder Blaze.
Y'all hear about this tall vampire lady in the next Resident Evil?
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's Aresol. And yeah, I have. I've heard some very good things. Anyway, guys.
Dude. Oh, never mind.
We got done watching this episode so that you guys can comment on it, and then we can talk about those comments, but you guys didn't comment, so now it's just gonna be us talking about it. And I want to talk about how confusing our first watch was as opposed to my then second viewing. Because things started to make a little bit more sense, like things started to click into place a little bit more. Where are you guys at for this episode right now?
I did not like it.
Okay.
So unless you have some information to shed that will change my mind on that,
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a bit of a mess.
It was messy. Alex, are you... Oh, shoot, I accidentally took out my headphones. Cool. Alright, well...
Um, I I think I enjoyed the episode for the most part. It was like neat. I guess like enjoyed. It was a decently put together episode. It's just like the last minute just didn't make any sense. Like they're kind of like building towards something, and it just came out of nowhere. Like I don't know what building blocks they were using for this episode. It looked nice, like for the most part, but just like there's something off about
Because
it.
it did... Upon first watch, it did feel like there was a lot of meaning behind a lot of scenes, and like, it just wasn't connecting because the thread for me wasn't there, like, immediately. Um, but I think...
Yo,
Huh?
speaking of threads, that was the one thing I kind of went through the entire episode looking for,
Yeah.
and that is the little
Yeah,
wire
yeah,
sticking
yeah.
out that kid's neck, and there wasn't even a bandage. Like,
Because it was... Oh. You're right. Huh.
yeah, like at least for like the one scene where they're at the bridge and he's like extending his hand,
Yeah.
or he's 100% the Marsk Beast. There's no bandage, there's no wire sticking out, no nothing. I'm just like, then
What...
why'd you bring it up?
So, immediately what confused me about it was like... So, they set it up, and then the next time we see him turning into blue, um, the wire doesn't really factor in. But, like, because, we assumed it would come out of the neck, and that's what I was looking for, and I didn't see anything. But there was a wire coming out of his hand. And I was like, oh, okay, so, like, there's still... It's not like a dropped plot thread. And what that was supposed to do, at least, what it was supposed to signal to the audience was, like, it can show up anywhere on the body. It could show up on the neck, it could show up on, like, on the hand. And then when the creeper dude had the band-aid on his finger, for some reason I didn't connect the dot that was supposed to be like a signal to be
A
like,
red
oh,
herring.
huh?
A red
Yeah,
herring.
yeah, yeah. And he was just being strangely creepy, and they were framing it really weird around him. Um, but what like really, I guess, the logic that I sort of had to fashion together was that when Silver went on that whole thing with his uncle, no one used the stone on him. It was just a property that the stone had to put him under that spell. So I think the Marsk Beast was sort of able to direct it in a way. Like, he held the stone, so and it got the artist dude trapped under it, and it must have been a memory potentially from a long time ago. and maybe it was like his friend from a while ago, and not necessarily like um an actual child. So maybe they were kids
Yeah.
at the same
But
time.
that I think could make sense. Sure. Uh, the thought that the weird thing that I was trying to wrap my head around was, A, Juru was with the kid while the monster attack was happening, right?
No,
He wasn't?
no. Like the second the monster like starts
Because
being
Juru
a
was
thing,
there.
they was like attached together.
Hmm.
Oh no, like when um
Juru went to meet up with the kid, and then there was a monster attack.
You're right.
And also, if he was the kid the whole time, why the hell would he contact Juru? What purpose would
Yeah, that's
there be
true.
to get him in like wrapped up in the plot, like what they're doing with this guy?
oh, okay, so the monster attack is just like the Mars beast. There's nothing about like the monster that the manga artist becomes. Like
Yeah,
that's all
no.
afterwards. Yeah.
But like the Marsk Beast was pretending to be the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed that was the entire time. But then why would he contact Juru, and how would he be in two places at once?
Shoot. You're right. You're right.
I'm looking for
Damn.
that phone call where he like gets the message to go, but
Yeah. Like, did they suddenly swap at that point? But like, so the house wasn't real, and like the stone sort of, presented that house because like they were never on Crystallia when Silver was under that
Yeah.
spell, so it was constructed mentally. So I assume since the Marsk Beast had control over um, the stone, he was able to sort of like create a blanket of an area of effect, I guess, of it being there potentially
So I guess it would have had to affect Juru as well then.
in some way, yeah. But then again, the kid lured Juru to the house, and he would have had to have been at the house if he was holding the stone, right? To foster that illusion. Man, you're right.
I
I
mean,
went all
yeah,
the way around. This episode started making sense, and now it really doesn't.
no, okay, so like, I think Drew just was like late because I think the emergency that the rest of them were calling them for was like, hey, there might be an imposter here,
Yeah.
and like then they kind of like cut to the tickling scene, and then we cut to Drew like running over like
Hmm.
after they introduced like the Shonen Dash like newcomers award and
Yeah.
stuff. So it still like kind of like follows through.
But
Like
no. But we're
he was
talking
there
about
first.
before when Juru met Calorie.
Oh, and like the things there. I mean, like maybe like it's not happening at exactly the same time because
Maybe
like
I don't know.
you can be pretty loose. Like it's not exactly at that time.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Man.
man, this is a lot more confusing than I thought.
Yeah, but
Was
at
he there for
least
the Ritz crackers?
at least for the very end, when he couldn't find the house and he found the dude's artwork, at least in my mind it made sense that
Oh,
um that like he couldn't find him anymore because that wasn't his reality, that wasn't his present reality that they were living through. That was like a past memory. So now he's actually an established artist.
oh,
And
that part didn't make any sense.
no, but
That
his memory was crafted from an or his that illusion was crafted from an old memory when that house used to be there, and that's why all that happened in that location. But when he's out of that illusion, now he goes back to real life, and real life is maybe where he's actually a mangaka.
I guess. I mean, like at that point, you have to establish that he was something else, or like an established
He was the
mangaka.
Green Arrow.
Shut up. He was like an established mangaka, and like the monster lured him over to like a pre-traumatic past or something. Like maybe he's
No,
like a
but
shut-in. Like
the whole thing was to pull the bait and switch.
yeah, but you can't like pull it out of nowhere because that just didn't make any sense. Like this whole like, oh, he actually was a mangaka the entire time. That's like, well, then where did it even come from to begin with?
No. I mean, like, you pluck a dude off of the street, you throw a traumatic memory at him, and then he goes back to where he thinks his house
Well,
used to
where do you
be.
find said traumatic memory and like insert it into said head?
It just latches on, just like how Silver had his memory latch on, right?
I guess. But then like he would probably have to have like some sort of like inner darkness in him, right? Because like at the very beginning of his episode, he just like lined up a bunch of people in like that one scene. He's like, well, all these guys suck. Might as well go back to my original plan. Where at that point, like, why would you even go after those random people to begin with if you already have something that works? So
Original plan.
I think the Mars Beast was just trying to get the team distracted so that they wouldn't get onto him. But that still doesn't explain why he would seek out Juru.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
yeah, I think him going after people just randomly was him trying to get the team like
Yeah.
busy, trying to figure out who the imposter is when there really wasn't one.
It's interesting that this episode is giving us a lot to like get into the weeds of, because for the most part, if we enjoy an episode, like we don't dive too deep into like the intricacies of how the logic of the episode flows. Like, if we base level enjoyed it, then we would be able to wave certain things like this away. But I feel like a lot of why I didn't enjoy it was because the dude was framed as such a creeper, and like, whether intentional or not, it just was not working. And then they attempted to sympathize, make us sympathize with that character. Um,
like when I rewatched it, it didn't look like he was framed as a creeper. He just kind of looked too much like one. They just start piling all those,
it was for
thoughts on
me.
him,
It was the smile
Oh, like
that
yeah, when he's
yeah.
mm,
It wasn't helpful. Um,
I don't know. He's just proud of his student, maybe.
I don't know.
I can't.
Aerosol,
It was
it looked like you had a point coming.
Oh, not really. I was just gonna say, like, you've done a lot of work to try to justify the creepiness of this character and the sort of uncomfortable feeling that I think all of us
Yeah,
got
yeah.
when it came to him interacting with this
Mm-hmm.
child. But that's the thing. Like, you've had to go out of your way
That's true. You're right.
to rewatch this episode and basically implement your own sort of headcanon
Well, like,
into it.
I,
But none of it was really super properly explained. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be,
mm-hmm.
but it also has to be enjoyable
That's
if you're
true.
not
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
explain
yeah.
everything.
No, and like, I went in because I was talking to Matt Hunt on Twitter about it, and like he had an understanding of it, and I was like, okay, there's something I'm missing. And like, I was trying to put the threads together, and what I got was a better understanding of it, but the execution was still poor. Like, I understood the intent, I just didn't like the way it was presented. Because it raised so many red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've picked up on everything that you've said about it.
Mhm.
But I still don't. I still just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I didn't really. There's cool imagery
Mm-hmm.
in this episode. Some creepy, some just genuinely kind of neat.
Right.
But for Kiramager, I don't know. This felt like too much of an outlier for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it steps outside of its comfort zone, and it really works.
Mhm.
And then there's a time like this where it's like I don't necessarily need this out of this show. I can commend you for trying, but it didn't really work.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, for me, I felt like one of the strengths of Kiramagers is kind of like the humor and personalities for like all the characters kind of like taking over and just like having a lot of fun with the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like for the major like arc for this episode where it's like that mangaka, you know, with his issues and that whole illusion, it just didn't feel like it was part of a Kiramager episode. Whereas like if you kind of like separate that plot and you have just like the Mars Beast and like the imposter, that part was great. And like the way that the antics kind of like flow between them, like when Silver or Takamichi grabs Blue and he chucks him into a wall.
That man
That
died.
That was the sound of a concussion.
Yeah.
I was so surprised that he fucking got up at the end. I was like, there's no way. Like he's got to stay on the ground after that one.
Mm-hmm.
And like that whole like red herring of the boss guy just kind of like having a hologram there to just to go like sneak off and do his like other work just to mess them even more, because like if they see that he's an imposter, there's like, oh my god, like just imagine if they committed a little bit hard on that rather than having like Juru just kind of like, you know, stumble upon him and something like that. Like this could have been like a really really solid episode, but
Yeah.
it went a little bit too far and I don't think it really nailed it
I
as well as
agree.
I wanted it to.
And while we're on the subject of positives, I still cannot get over the scene where like he had the bow trained on him, and then Yodana shows up and is like, all right, don't do anything, give me the stone. All right, we don't have time for your failure, get out of here. I could not get over that part. That was the gall of that scene.
Yeah,
man.
I also love the lack of cautious Senna, because that fucking thing, that episode will not convince me otherwise.
Fair.
Literally, like the second he's like, "Hey, he's an imposter," no thinking at all, just starts wailing on his ass. You were with him the entire fucking time. God.
We did say that it was a small part of her. It's not necessarily her great, an overwhelming trait for her.
No, it's so small, it's insignificant. Almost doesn't exist. You don't even use it for calculations.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Did we have anything else? This is a rather long review that we've gone through.
I mean, half of it was a review, half of it was just us talking it out so we understood what happened.
Yeah, but I feel like that was also still very necessary, because it, Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to hear more from us each week. Tell us in the comments down below what you thought about our thoughts. You didn't have any thoughts, so I can't say your thoughts. Anyway, while you're down there, there are links in the description to how you can help support the Black Lives Matter movement by donating money, signing petitions, and watching videos. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it.
Yep, see ya.
Bye.
Wow.
Yeah, I was